We now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Rev Nathaniel W Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Pastor Blackwell. My name is Reverend Nathaniel W Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in Los Angeles. And we're located at 8916 South Main Street. And I'd like to welcome you to any and all of our services on Sundays at 11 a.m., 8916 South Main Street. And on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And, of course, tonight, Friday night at 7, beginning at 7 p.m. We're sharing the facilities with the Reverend Dr. Della F. Hollerness, my very good friend, and give her a shout out. I want to invite you and welcome you to come and let us pray with you, pray for you as you go on life's journey. The name of this offering that we're doing at this time is entitled, however, It's Time. And what is it time for? It is time for justice. It's time for environmental justice. It is time that black women get better neonatal care, so that would be better health outcomes even though you have black women and white women who have the same insurance and the same doctors and in the same hospital at the same time, their outcomes are so vastly different. And it is time for that to change. And also, along with that must come economic justice. And so that brings us smack up against the need for reparations for past wrongs that the United States government has committed against the citizens of these here United States of America. Yes, the formal 250 years of unrequited toil spoken of by Abraham Lincoln, plus the 150 years in which we black people were denied the American dream. We were denied the house, we were denied the suburbs. Instead, we were given the slum, we were given the projects, we were given Nickerson Gardens, Pueblo del Rio, Hawaiian Gardens, while the other people, I hate to say the so-called white people, were giving Lakewood, Paramount, Inglewood, and all of the surrounding areas. And that policy proliferates all across this country, whether you were in New York, whether you were in New Jersey, or whether you were up in San Francisco with the same identical policy. The restrictive covenants stated that the house was to be sold to whites only, and no Negroes were allowed to infiltrate. And the legacy of that redlining is still with us to this very moment. That's why our housing conditions are as they are. That is why our social conditions with our schools and with our hospitals and with our job prospects are as they are, because if you control where a person lives, then you control everything else that's going to happen subsequent. I want to start by reading our scripture for reparations, which is in the Deuteronomy chapter 15, beginning at verse 12. It says, "And if thy brother, an Hebrew man or an Hebrew woman, be sold unto thee and serve thee 6 years, then in the 7th year thou shalt let them go free from thee. And when thou sendest them out free from thee," this is the kicker, "thou shalt not let them go away empty. Thou shalt furnish them liberally out of thy flock and out of thy floor and out of thy winepress of that wherewith the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, thou shalt give unto them." God said that. That was God's way of dealing with slavery, or people who had fallen into hard times, into poverty, into what the Dr. William Barber calls protocols, people who were made poor by other people. And God did not condone the way that slavery was practiced here in the United States, chattel slavery. And he did not condone just sending a person out of the plantation outside the gate, get out, go away, but you ain't got nothing. You don't have you're not you have no economics, you have no finances, you have no employment, you have no credit, you have nowhere to stay, you have nothing to support or supply yourself with. God said, no, that was not the way it was to be done. That's the way it was done here in these United States, but that's not God's way. God's way is stated very clearly in the scripture I have just read. And of course, it is always buttressed by what is written subsequently in all scripture, where even Jesus said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do good to all men, or Paul talking, especially to them who are of the household of faith. So we were never to have practiced the slavocracy as it was practiced in this country. So in order to make that right, with all of the subsequent evils that have been visited upon the black citizens of these United States of America, yes, there's a strong case and a mighty case for reparations from slavery. And if not from slavery, then certainly from the 150 years of redlining that we had to endure. Because if America had been fair with the Social Security, instead of making the blacks wait 20 years to be included, then it would have been different. If America had been fair with the GI Bill or fair with the Federal Housing Administration. But in none of those was it fair or egalitarian or equal. It was all white only, and if you're black, get back. It was white exclusively, and who was excluded was black people. I have with me today a friend of mine. He's my esteemed colleague. He is the president of the National Action Network chapter here in Los Angeles, and he is the Western Regional Director of the National Action Network in the state of California, Nevada, and all around. The person is Reverend Jonathan Moseley. How you doing, Dr. Moseley?
Good. Thank you so much, Rev Martin.
Good.
Good afternoon, good evening to you.
Hope I'm not ranting too much.
No, sounds good.
We wanted to get into the topic of the Mississippi Department of Corrections problem that they are having. We have noticed that prisoners by the name of Roosevelt Holloman, Walter Gates, Denoris Howell, and there are two others whose names I don't see here at present. But they've been killed in the month of January, between December 31st and now, in the prisons in Mississippi.
Right.
Well, you care to elaborate or bring us up some more information about that?
Well, it's no doubt a tragic situation, on a very deplorable situation, even how it came about. The facts are they were making these prisoners live in some of the most deplorable conditions, rat-infested. Food was not, in a lot of cases, consumable, not allowed to take showers. Their whole existence there, I know that prison is not supposed to be a country club, but it was just totally and has been totally inhumane as to how they've treated these individuals, to the point where no matter how long you've been incarcerated, there's a breaking point. And at that point, the uprising took place. We have our chapter down in Mississippi that's been looking in on the situation. One of our chapter leaders, family member, is missing. They can't get to him. They can't find him. There's been no correspondence, no verbal correspondence in any way, shape, form, or fashion, which again is another tragedy because of how they have not just treated but mistreated these individuals. They can't even get to their families. Mm-hmm. It's still very much a volatile environment. It's still a very hostile environment. Unfortunately, the news on this end of the country has been omitted and has not been given a lot of the quality information because there's still lockdown going on. So it again causes us to try to question this institution called prison and why it has been so harsh. It's almost as if they're using the prison system as another form of slavery. And the actions that are being taken toward these individuals. We have to remember this one thing. There's something that triggered and made them get to this point. But it's not for this institution called prison to further incarcerate and imprison them mentally. And dehumanize these individuals to feel less than humans. And again, those that have been in power and those that have been empowered have taken it too far. It's too far. And then you wonder why they become turnkey inmates. You've destroyed them mentally. You've broken them down physically. And so when their time has come,
you disenfranchise them.
You're disenfranchised. And they can't function.
Right.
They can't function.
Yeah. They can't vote in most states.
In a lot of states, they prohibit them from voting.
Can't get public housing.
You can't. A lot of them can't get jobs.
Yeah, that's the main.
That's
thing.
the main thing.
Yeah.
You know,
how are you going to support yourself?
How do you become reintroduced to a society that doesn't want you?
Right.
But they let you go into it, and they demand that you make it and that you make it work. When everything, once you go on the outside of that prison wall, is geared to send you right back in.
Exactly. Including the parole officer.
Oh yes, well the parole officer is just another extension of the penal system.
Yeah, I want to segue into the report or the research paper that you have before you, dealing with the fact that working hard, getting a good education, is not enough for Black Americans. We have before us a report by some learned and very distinguished college professors and doctors, not me. Professor, last name is Harold. Derek
Hamilton.
Derek Hamilton
and
Dr. William Sandy Darity
Jr.
Along with about 10 other distinguished professors,
yes,
including Dr. Tricia Ross. If I don't get her name right, she'll kill me. But they have a compendium, a research paper where they have done extensive interviews and research, and segueing into that prison industrial complex, it says that for every dollar that a white person earns, a Black person has 1 penny. That
if he has that much.
Well, and not only that, but that if you remember the old truism or principle that we were given, we were taught it from a child, that if you get a good education and you work hard and you play by the rules, you'll achieve the American dream.
Yes.
Remember, Dr. Martin Luther King said that his dream was deeply rooted in the what? American dream.
Yeah.
All right. But it turns out that, as King said before he died, that the American dream was a what? A nightmare.
Absolutely.
For the Black man.
Absolutely.
You care to elaborate on that?
Yes. I mean, again, no matter what we've done, what we've been presented, we've always had to be better.
Twice as
hard, twice as good. And even in that, it appeared to be a model of intimidation, because once we got there, they changed the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So consequently, the American dream is whose America? It is not the Black man's America.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've said to certain other groups that have made it, so to speak, they're functioning and doing well, they came over with in freedom.
Mm-hmm.
We were brought over by force. They receive government aid. They want to give us government subsidy.
Right.
they were able to establish and do businesses. How in the world can we do business when we don't have the economic resources? We're not given a fair shake at education. The African American goes to school. He's already in debt before he even goes to the first classroom. Mm-hmm. Then he does everything according to what they said to do. And when we get out, guess what?
You got that debt.
Number one, you're already indebted. Number two, there's no place for you.
Yeah.
And then number three, you got to try to now survive in a hostile environment, in an economic avalanche that's constantly pressing us down. Every time we turn and think that we can see the light of day, PG&E, Edison, whoever cuts the light out on us.
Right.
So now we got to go back to primitive ways just to try to make it. We got to go get a flintstone, grab some grass, and spark off a fire that they come and extinguish because they said that we're causing and creating damage to their goods.
Exactly.
So we never have had a fair shake.
From slavery.
From slavery.
Okay. And the hatred that was engendered in the southerner and unfortunately a lot of times in the northerner, because if you go to Chicago, you go to Illinois, you don't go to Kankakee.
No.
And if you in New York, I think you don't go to Cicero.
No, go to Cicero. And you know, Dr. Martin, you know what is the most astounding thing that really makes no sense at all? And you know, it is just what it is. Italians came over and were able to do what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Irish came over, did what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Germans came over, did what they wanted to do. French came over, did what they wanted to do. They all had pieces, whether it's in Chicago or Illinois or in New York. They gave us one street, 125th Street in Harlem, mm-hmm. and they wanted to control that. Yeah. We only had a certain area that we could go and do anything. Mm-hmm. And if we went a block over,
the police was there.
Police was there, or those mob gangs. And it's really interesting mm-hmm. how they play on words. You and I stand on the corner too long, they gonna come and investigate us because because we're getting ready. Me and you, mm-hmm. just us two, are getting ready to incite a riot. Yeah, you could have 20 other folks that are creating in a volatile environment, and they say, "Oh, they're just kids. They're having fun."
Right
now, you and I haven't done anything but stood on the corner
talking.
And matter of fact, we could be just waiting for the light to change to cross over.
Yeah.
But we become like public enemy number one. But you have those other group of people that could vandalize, they could do all kind of evil, and they just get a pass.
Right. Well, now that brings us right into the midst of this report that these learned doctors and professors have put before us. As they say, education is not the great equalizer when it comes to race and wealth.
Right.
As a matter of fact, they sent out test cases, people looking for employment. They sent out, black people to a firm to interview, and they never got a call back.
Right.
And they sent out a white person to the same firm, and that white person not only gets the call back, but gets the job.
And could definitely, in a lot of cases, have less education.
Well, that's the point. That's the point I'm driving at. The black person has a college degree.
Yes.
But the white person is a high school dropout and has a prison record.
Yeah.
But they get hired.
Yes.
They have more. The white person, in other words, with a prison record, with a conviction on his record, has a greater chance of being hired than a black person like you or me with a college degree mm-hmm. and no conviction.
Well, I mean, look at you from Texas. My family from Texas. Mm-hmm. Situation down there, white kid committed the crime, the court gave him a chance, a redemptive chance, and that's what they call it. Yeah. He's redemptive. So what you're saying is, I take a bag of potato chips, I'm less qualified for redemption as this kid that ran over and killed somebody. And then yet and still, you want us to believe that there's fairness and equality and justice. When we go into the courts, we go in automatically with a conviction sign put on us before we've even seen the judge. Right. The case is inconclusive. They don't have sufficient evidence. But yet and still, in order to close the case, in order for them not to have to spend the money to find the real perpetrator, they put that jacket on us. We get incarcerated. They call it case closed. And we may not have even been there. And
the wickedest part is they get you to take a plea deal.
Oh, yeah.
So you think you're getting off or getting by, but then you go out into the public and that jacket follows you.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And you're not free.
And that's another one of these misnomers about expungement. Just because you went before the courts and got your records supposed to be expunged, you'd be surprised at how many people think that they're free, but they're not. That record is still
extant.
It's still on you. Mm-hmm. You have to go, and it's got to be pardoned by the governor of the state. Expungement is just a Band-Aid on a cancer wound.
Right. So as we celebrate with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in the Martin Luther King festivities and going right on into Black history, it seems that our problems remain, that we are just as susceptible to arrest now as it may have been back in the 1930s or even 40s. You remember, the Watts riot, which
65
here in 65, yeah. And then the 92
uprising.
You know, the Koreans were allowed to have weapons
and did shoot them
with no prosecution.
None, and it's a law that you cannot fire an arm within the county of Los Angeles.
Right.
Yet they were shooting.
That's right.
To keep and safeguard their quote-unquote property.
Not their lives.
Yeah, their property. Yeah, it had nothing to do with their lives because, number one, they were on top of buildings shooting and at a higher angle.
And they don't live at them places.
No, they don't.
Yeah, but this shows you the distinction. And
but it's even worse, Dr. Martin, because at least back in those other eras, 40s, 50s, 60s, there was a potential that you could get arrested. Now, they don't even give you a chance to be arrested. They would rather shoot you. They lie.
Scream gun.
Like
they did on Stephon Clark.
Yes. And yet to find a weapon. Mm-hmm. You know. But again, this plays into just like what happened in the government, you know, going to a war looking for weapons of mass destruction that they never found.
They ain't found a weapon yet.
They ain't found a weapon yet. So, you know, we have to pay close attention to what's being presented to us. And we need to stop being so individualized and feeling that because it ain't happened to me, it won't happen to me. Everyone that has any color that is black is susceptible of injustice at any moment of time.
You're in jeopardy.
In jeopardy of your life.
Yeah. All right. So I know we need to be getting close to our time. But I do want to. What time we got, Doc? You got 5 minutes? Okay. The Western Regional Conference is coming up. You want to hit on that right quick?
Yes, sir. Western Regional Conference will be held in Sacramento, California, February the 5th to the 7th. Our Western Regional Conference poses to be one very, very interesting and very informative conference. Reverend Al Sharpton, our national leader, will be in attendance. We have a ribbon cutting that Wednesday morning, the opening ceremony at 10 o'clock on the State Capitol building, and then there will be seminars and panels that's going to deal with a lot of the issues.
How do you get there?
You can go on the website. It's www.nationalactionnetwork.net. That's the national website. Or you could go on www.nan.sacramento.org. You could also go www.nationalactionnetworkla.net. And there's a link that you can follow, and you can register. Registration is free. We have two very important and critical events going to happen. We have the Ministers' Luncheon, and we also have a women's luncheon. And on Friday, to get involved, because we have to give this message to our youth, there is a youth huddle as well as a get out to vote concert going on that night, at Friday night, and it's free as well.
Okay, hate to cut you off, but we
gotta go.
Cut it down. But legal night at National Action Network is every third Thursday. I encourage you, if you have a legal problem, to come to make your way to 2828 West Jefferson, 2828 West Jefferson for legal night. We have attorneys there that are willing to listen to your case and give you advice. And we invite you to come to our weekly meetings, which is every Monday night, except every fifth Monday night. But that's too much minutia. Every Monday night at 6 o'clock at 2828 West Jefferson Boulevard. That is the Concord Missionary Baptist Church. Our good friend Dr. Hemphill is the pastor there, and he's kindly opened up space for us. Also coming up in the month of February will be a DA forum conducted at Cedar Grove Baptist Church on February 10th.
Yes.
And we want to put that out there. Again, as I wrap up, I know I'm running over time. I want to tell you, you listen to our discussion, and you can see for yourself that just working hard is not going to cut it. If working hard was all you needed, every slave coming out of slavery would have been a multi-millionaire. At least would have had $1 million. If working hard by itself would do it, then every housewife would be rich. So what am I saying? You're working on this job, the CEO is making $29 million a year and getting a golden parachute when he leaves after firing you. They want to work you, don't want to pay you nothing but kibbles and bits. Want you to eke up on a raise to $15 an hour when the cost of living is $30 an hour. They're telling you they don't want to pay you. And what I say to you is start your own business, start your own movement, revenue stream, because if they don't want to pay you, don't work for them. God bless. Thank you, Doc.
And some sleepless nights. But when I look around and I think things over, all of my good days, outweigh my bad days. Yes, they do. Outweigh my bad days. I just say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I won't complain. No, I won't complain. Sometimes my clouds hang low.